let's talk about getting punched in the face. A while ago I made a video about how to make a fight scene, and there will be some overlap here, but what I want to focus a lot more on is just all the aspects of stunt work, how to make things look dangerous and convincing and awesome without risking any real serious injury. So there may be a little overlap, but I'll be focusing overall a lot more on the stunt work side of things. It goes without saying that a little bit of natural talent in either martial arts or stunt work experience will go a long way in helping your stunts to look awesome and great and realistic. But film is smoke and mirrors too. There's a lot of tricks you can use. You can use editing, makeup, sound, camera work, and placement of your actors relative to the camera. The first thing I mentioned was editing. Now the last thing you want is quick, choppy editing, because you're either covering up for the fact that you have really bad choreography and stunt work, or worse, you're covering up your good choreography and stunt work. Point simply being, let the audience actually see your work. Don't cut it up to the point that it's incomprehensible. Nonetheless, there are plenty of appropriate times to make a cut, whether it's for pacing purposes or for stunt work. And in terms of stunt work, it's not always convenient to film one stunt in one shot. Sometimes it's easier in two shots. Here, for instance, Bobby's going to roll me over the pool table and I fall to the floor, but we didn't want to do that all in one take. The reason for that is I could make the stunt look better doing it in two different ways. The first way was here, just rolling over the pool table and allowing myself to fall really hard, and that's because there's pads hidden behind the pool table. And that's a very common technique, splitting up the shots into two different ones, or having a crash mat off camera right there, or right here, it's to the left of the car. Crash mats or even old bed mattresses are awesome because they allow you to do spectacularly big falls you couldn't normally do. Now for the second half of the stunt, I'm just lying on the ground, and what I did was I kind of pushed myself up so I was airborne about a foot or two, and then let myself fall back down and made it look like I was in a lot of pain. So I start the cut right at the highest point, let myself fall, and I actually kicked the chair by accident, but then I just look like I'm in pain, and it really sells the effect well. Now this next trick is gold, I promise you. What you do is during any sort of fast movement like a punch or a kick or a fall or an impact, what you can do is cut out a frame or maybe 2 frames or 3 frames, not necessarily connected frames, but cut them out, and what it looks like is the movements are a lot faster. That's how somebody like Matt Damon becomes somebody like Jason Bourne. Sure, he had a lot of martial arts training for the Bourne movies, but editing, smoke and mirrors, went a long way in making him a really convincing martial arts expert assassin. So I'm going to show you 2 examples of this technique, and the first portion of each example will be just the raw footage, what we actually filmed, what it actually looked like. And the second portion of each example will be what it looks like after the effect. A lot faster, a lot more brutal, like we're actually hitting each other as hard as we possibly can.
Action!
So here's a tip for making impacts look that much better. A lot of the times, you'll punch or kick and try to get really close without actually hitting, but other times you can get away with hitting your partner in less critical areas. For instance, hitting your partner in the arm or the leg or kicking their hands. And so it's sort of a block essentially, but it looks like it hurts, especially if you combine it with that frame effect. You might get a couple small bruises from this, but you'll walk away with a much more convincing fight scene. And for those times that you don't want to connect, you can often place the impact behind what the camera can see. So here, Bobby's going to punch me right behind my face, but he's about 2 inches from my face here. The camera doesn't know that, though. You don't know that watching that. It looks like he's actually hitting me really hard. And that's another great example of how camera placement can sell a fight. The last thing I want to say about fight scenes is don't be afraid to get inspired by some of your favorite filmmakers. John Woo, Jackie Chan, Jason Statham, Tony Jaa, Jean-Claude Van Damme. If you see one of these guys or someone else you like do something cool, don't be afraid to emulate it. Obviously, originality is great, but you don't have to reinvent the wheel every time. Don't be afraid to reference somebody that you really like. For instance, I'm a huge John Woo fanatic, and Mission Impossible 2 is unapologetically one of my favorite movies. In 2009, I made another short video called 60 Seconds to Hell, and in that, I almost shot for shot copied one of the stunts from Mission Impossible 2 where Tom Cruise flips Dougray Scott over and he lands really hard on the ground. To me, that's just a respectful reference, and I love putting these little references into all my videos, and there's a lot of them scattered around. Another iconic action movie I love is John Woo's A Better Tomorrow 2. Here, Chow Yun-fat slides backwards down the stairs while shooting back up at the bad guy shooting at him. This is a really, really sweet stunt. It can be pretty dangerous, though, for obvious reasons. The fact that you're falling onto a jagged, uneven surface and the fact that you're sliding down it, it can be really bad for your back, and it can cause some pretty serious injury. At the house I grew up in, we had a set of carpeted stairs, and I knew from wrestling with my brother on it that you could pretty safely slide down it. I just knew that from accidental experience. So I thought to myself, hey, let's put this in a movie. And I found that there were 2 tricks to do it safely. First of all, do it in 2 separate takes, just like that fall over the pool table. Do one take where you fall, onto the stairs, and then a separate take where you're sliding down it. Don't do it all in one. The other trick is to slide as smoothly as possible. Don't go bump, 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 bump down each stair. Try to make it just one smooth line. If you were to connect the tips of each stairs, just slide down that so you're probably in contact with 2, 3, or maybe even 4 stairs at any given time. And that way you're not thumping, 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 hurting yourself with each bump. Again, it helped immensely that we had carpeted stairs. Professionals tend to have some sort of back padding that they'll wear under their shirt, so it's kind of the same effect, only it's a lot safer even than carpeted stairs. I probably wouldn't recommend doing this down anything hard like wooden steps or anything that's really going to hurt with each consecutive step. One of the biggest, most common problems I see is an unconvincing fall. This is what that looks like. On the other hand, a good fall looks like this. All too often the problem is that whoever is falling down, it's painfully obvious that they're trying to cushion themselves, and therefore it's really obvious that they're falling on their own. They're not falling involuntarily. Not only does this look fake, but it kills the illusion of the entire stunt that they're actually getting hurt, and pretty much kills the illusion of the entire scene. Here's one of my favorite falls. Bobby knees my gut, grabs a hold of my leg, and flips me over. But if you look closely, he's not actually the one flipping me. Now slowing it down, right there, I'm planting my hand as if I'm ready to do a forward somersault and actually kind of flip myself forward. Now Bobby does his motion, but really it's there for show. It gets me around a little bit, but it's mostly me just doing a forward rolling motion. And here as well, you can see that I have my hands planted, and this helps me to really control my motion as I go through this roll. And in a moment, it'll help me land, because first, you see, my foot lands before anything else. Not my butt, not my back, but my foot. And my foot is therefore breaking the fall. And after that first foot hits, you'll next see that my other foot sets down, still before anything else. So my feet are really what's hitting first and breaking this fall. Then I just look like I'm in pain for the rest of it. And that's really the key to selling a fall like this and making it look convincingly painful. Next example I want to show you is where Bobby shoots me in the leg, sending my leg out from under me and sending me down to the ground. So initially Bobby shoots me in the leg, and you can see that the motion of the bullet is going to the left, so that's the way that my legs have to go out from under me. Next thing I'm worrying about is setting down lightly, so my foot is the first thing to land, just like before. And you'll see that I'm not smashing my foot into the ground. I'm setting it down as lightly as I can, so I'm setting myself up to roll off of that foot and eventually roll off of my leg to ease into the fall as slowly as possible, at least as slowly as possible for something as fast as this. Now the next thing that you'll see is that I get my hand down on the ground. And again, this isn't me smashing my wrist into the ground to hurt it. This is just me setting it down so that I can ease into the fall. So essentially now I've set up a base with my leg and my hand, and then I'm just easing my body to the ground with that base that I've set up. And as mentioned before, crash mats are another excellent tool because they allow you to do falls you couldn't normally do from heights you couldn't normally do. And again, if you don't have a crash mat available, an old bed mattress can do the job just fine. The last thing I want to talk about in regard to falls is dives, because diving itself is easy. All you got to do is just kind of throw yourself and dive and look cool. But the tricky part is landing it without getting hurt. So essentially it's a fall. In my experience, the 2 best ways to come out of a dive are either to land on a crash mat or to come out of it in a roll. Rolls are a really cool, flashy thing to do, but they actually have some practical applications too. They can connect 2 different moves into one fluid motion. They can bring you to a stop, and they can, again as mentioned before, soften your landing. So let's take a look at an example of that dive to a landing. Here Bobby is charging his energy ball and shooting it at me. As I get hit by it, I'm just all out throwing myself backwards, and you can see right here is pretty much just a dive. As we get a little further, you can see I plant my hands on the ground in preparation for a landing from a fall. And as we keep going past that, you can see that I kind of roll out of it. Rolls are a lot of fun and they look cool, and you can incorporate them in a bunch of different ways. You can use them smoothly and gracefully like Bobby right here, or the other way like me. So one more quick roll. Here's a clip from the upcoming video I'm making called Exec Protect, and right here, plant my hand. Pretty standard, just like before. Now I'm going to keep going with it onto my right arm and roll off that right arm, slowly extending it so that it goes to my shoulder and then my back, and then smoothly out of it. This is one of my favorite moments that we've ever shot. This is from the Irish Piano, our 2006 first serious effort at a movie, really. And money's flying, guns are sliding, and I slam into this board right here. Now in reality, slamming into a board like that would really hurt and potentially injure you. But what we did is we cut notches on either side of it right in the middle, and then scored it so that the middle was only held together by a small, maybe 1-inch piece of wood. And so when I slammed into it, it was just ready to break right there. And if you're a prolific action filmmaker, you're probably going to find yourself doing a whole bunch of crazy stunts. It might be hanging on the side of an SUV doing 40 miles an hour, or jumping from a second-story floor. Either way, as a general rule, just don't do something you're not comfortable with, because even if you decide to go for it for that one awesome money shot, halfway through you're probably going to end up not committing to it and think to yourself, oh God, I can't do this. And by now you're trying to back out of it, but it's really too late. You're already committed, and then you just get hurt. And I say that from personal experience. So really, just stay within your abilities, and that'll keep you safe. And think of creative ways to keep it safe, too. You don't want to get hurt. You just want to go home with a cool-looking video. And at the end of the day, that's not worth getting hurt for anyway. But sometimes you just got to take the hit.